Hey guys, welcome back to Behavior Strategies for Class. Today we're talking about your behavior breakthroughs for your students. Because understanding and improving student behavior is a cornerstone of effective teaching. And without it, you could have a class of chaos with no real learning going on. So today we're going to talk about ways that your students can have their behavior breakthroughs. Welcome to Behavior Strategies for Class. I am Diane Bachman, your behavior paraprofessional with over 15 years of experience working in special education. And I'm so glad you're here because I'll be teaching you about social-emotional learning, behavior strategies, trauma-informed care, and more. So if you are tired of being frustrated and not knowing what to do with your students who have challenging and disruptive behavior, you're in the right place. Now, if you're ready to become more equipped to help your students learn and grow, let's listen in to today's episode. So one more thing before we get started. If you have not hit that subscribe button, please do that now and share this podcast with other educators that you know, or share this episode with any other educators that you think will benefit from this as well. And don't forget to join my Facebook group, Behavior Strategies for Class, where there are over 1,000 educators there, and it is great to meet up there and learn from each other. So one of the biggest behavior breakthroughs that we have had with our students that we work with in our behavior program is advocating for themselves, being able to speak what they need. And usually that's being able to say, like, this is too hard, it's too loud in here, I need a break, can I get some water, or I'm hungry. Some of these obviously are just normal physical needs. Others, it's an overwhelm of the environment. And so being able to teach them and that they have learned to be able to speak and advocate for themselves that they need something else than what they're getting at that moment has really helped to cut down on some of their other challenging behaviors. Because if we're not hearing them, we're not listening to what they're saying, then their behaviors do escalate. So when I work with a student and they're telling me, like, it's too loud in here, I can't, or this is too hard, I want to honor that they have been able to advocate and tell me what they need or what's frustrating them. And so then I can offer, okay, well, we can go and work over here, or we can go and work over here. Where would you like to go and work instead? So they've advocated for themselves, which is a behavior breakthrough, because sometimes some of the students I've worked with would just leave the room, sometimes that's walking, sometimes that's running. Other times they would just throw their paper, throw their pencil, rip up their work. So it's really helped to be able to teach them, like, you can say what you need and we will do our best to meet that need. Now, there are times, so if we have a student say, I really need a break, and it's like 10 minutes till lunchtime, we usually will try and get them to wait that out and just say, buddy, like, it's going to be lunchtime in 10 minutes. Are you good to hold it? Are you good just to hang out here until we go to lunch? And for the most part, they usually are. Because usually during the day, they are not looking up at the clock for the most part and figuring out, okay, what's happening next? Okay, that's 10:15, so I have another 15 minutes before. Like, they're not doing that. Thankfully, for the most part, they're paying attention to the teacher and what the teacher is teaching and what they need to do. So, again, the biggest behavior breakthrough that our students have had that I have worked with is really in advocating for themselves, learning that they can sense their bodies being overwhelmed. They can sense, like, I need to walk around, or I need to go get a drink. Like I said, going back to those physical needs, that they need something right then and there. And sometimes when they're asking for a snack, that could be the same. Like, okay, you have 10 minutes until lunch. Let's hold off, and you're going to be eating in 10 minutes. So we still acknowledge what they've advocated for. And like I said, I do my best to meet those needs whenever I can. But there's also reminders of the reality of the day and where they are throughout the day. Some other behavior breakthroughs, sorry about that, our students have had was when they actually do leave, we have had them learn not to leave the building or not to leave campus. So we understand, like, this is what they have learned to do and this is their escape. And so they leave the building. But they have learned, like, okay, I know I can only go, like, to a certain area. And sometimes they'll tell us, my students have said, I need to leave. Other times I can sense in their bodies, like, okay, they're getting up, and I'll try and catch them before they run, like, okay, do you need to leave? So then I know, and I'm ready to get up and go as well, without chasing them per se, but walking out with them. Other ways our students have had breakthroughs is using strategies to calm down. So they know that they can do the breathing. They don't always like to do that, like either the finger, blowing out the candles, which is their hand. They don't, like I said, they don't always like to do the breathing, but they do like a fidget. And some of the students I work with is drawing. Drawing is very calming for them. And so again, we've taught them what are the strategies and what are the resources that they can use to calm down. And so seeing when they can actually suggest it instead of us or me saying, oh, okay, you want this. They have learned to advocate for themselves. Like I said, they can say, you know what, I do need a fidget, or I need a brain break, or I just really want to draw for a couple minutes, or can you please just stop talking to me right now? We've had students say that, and it's like, yeah, I can do that. I can give you space. So that is really powerful and awesome to see. Like, even our kinders will be, I need to take a break, or I need to take a walk. And it's like, okay, buddy, thanks for letting me know. Let's go. So that is super exciting to see. And that really is a behavior breakthrough because, like I said, if they are not advocating and letting us know that, then, like I said, their behaviors are escalating and they are throwing things or hitting or, whatever it is, or they're, eloping out of the room. They're gone and we're like, what in the world? Where are they? It just becomes obviously an even more safety issue then too. And where are they? So our biggest behavior breakthrough that I have seen is definitely in advocating for themselves and then being able to meet that need as much as possible. Because you want to honor that, I don't know if it's a request or that expression, that self-awareness, and acknowledge that your students are expressing that. Like, that's a huge one. Because that could even go back to some of your students who have been through trauma or are experiencing some traumatic events at home. Like, nobody hears them. Nobody listens to them. So what does it matter if they say, I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, or I really need to take a walk, or can you give me a fidget? And then we don't acknowledge that, like, that's terrible. So, honoring and acknowledging when your students can advocate for themselves is huge. So, some ways that you can help your students achieve those behavior breakthroughs is by being consistent. I know you hear that over and over again, but it's true. Staying consistent with your expectations, holding them to those expectations. That is another way that students learn. Even though you want to avoid it and you've ripped it up, we have tape. And I have taped many worksheets back together for that student, and that student does eventually do the work. We have to hold them to the expectation to know that the work, the learning is not going anywhere. This is obviously why you're in school, is for learning. And so, again, being consistent with that, being consistent with your expectations and holding them to those expectations. Another way that you can help your students get a behavior breakthrough is teaching and reteaching those strategies. And I know it's exhausting, but it would be great if your students could learn this firsthand and then be done. But that's definitely not the way it goes. And even in your teaching academics, you have to reteach some of those things. So behavior strategies, teaching your students to advocate for themselves, it is something that we teach and we reteach constantly. And it's not in the moment. So if your student is escalated and they are, super upset, they're frustrated, they're angry, they're yelling at you, that is not the time to say, okay, hold out your hand. It's time to do your breathing, because they're not hearing you. So you have to know when they are, we call it de-escalated, so they have calmed down and you can have a normal conversation. That's the time you want to reteach what they, could have been doing instead, or could have said instead. And then number 4, so number 1 is being consistent with those expectations. Number 2, holding them to those expectations. Number 3 is that teaching and reteaching of behavior strategies and teaching them how to advocate for themselves. And then number 4 is empowering your students to use their voice, which again goes back to that advocating, and giving them that choice as well, because sometimes we get to where it's like, okay, you have, this much work to get done, and, which one do you want to start with first? So we have one student that works a lot in our classroom. And so we will give the option and say, okay, you have the choice to work on your English right now, or do you want to finish your math? Or it's your science, you have to finish this. So which one do you want to start with? So they know the expectation is the work needs to be done, but giving it back to them, empowering your students to use their voice and their choice and what they want to start with. And then, sometimes it's even like, okay, well, what table do you want to sit at? It's just the little things, and that just kind of empowers them more to take that responsibility back into them in what needs to get done, and knowing that the work still needs to get done, but they still have these little choices to make as they're going on, And so empowering your students to use their voice, again, that advocating. And then number 5 is remaining calm. So you know your students are not always going to have these breakthroughs, that there's going to be disruptions, that there's going to be, escalations with some of your students. And the best thing that you can do is to remain calm, using a calm voice. And if you are sensing in yourself, you know what, I'm really going to lose it right now, depending on the day, the time, whatever, I get it. Like, we're human too. And there are times where it's like, oh man, like I'm going to lose my mind. And so we in our team, one of my teammates, like, we have worked together like 10 years. So we can just look at each other and we know, like, all right, I need to tap out. You need to, take the lead on this because this child is making me crazy and I'm going to lose it. And obviously that is not going to be helpful for anybody if I lose it with this student. And so knowing yourself as well, like, okay, I've been, trying to talk to the student and work with the student all day and he's just not getting it. Hopefully you could call for backup or call your mental health team, call admin, somebody else to come in and support you because you know yourself. And, this is like the last button for this student. It's okay. Like, we're all human. We all reach that point. But knowing that you can't remain calm, that's okay. Get somebody else in there that can, because having that calm body, that calm voice with that student is the best way to keep that situation calm as much as possible. Because even if that student is freaking out and screaming at you and getting ready to throw things, you get that calm person in there and they're like, no, thank you. Let's go take a walk. And just helping to redirect and get that student out of the way of everybody else and whatever the situation is, wherever that student is, you want to remain calm. Because having that calm voice and that calm body just de-escalates even the rest of the students if it's in the middle of class. And that helps to keep them calm as well. Obviously, you're going to have some students that'll be freaking out as well. But for the most part, everyone is going to feel that you are calm and you are in control. And this student is going to get the help that they need, as soon as somebody else comes in. Because obviously, you can't leave the rest of your class. So getting that other support there. And then lastly, celebrate. So number 6 is celebrate. Celebrate those behavior breakthroughs. Like I said, it's even just advocating, you know what? It's too loud in here. We actually have headphones for some of our students that they can wear when it is too overwhelming, it's too loud, and we will go get them for them. And so that helps to keep them calm when they can't hear all of it. And especially some of our students when they are in PE, because, in the gym, it's a giant room and things kind of echo in there. So it makes it even louder. And so I've had one student come up to me and say, I'm overwhelmed. Can we leave? And it's like, yeah, let's go. Great job. Great job using your voice and letting me know, this is what you need. Other times a student has said, can I have headphones? And I will go get headphones for them while they're in the gym. Or sometimes, whatever class it is. Or, during fire drills, a lot of our students like to ask and use headphones because, the fire drill is loud. And that's a huge sensory for some of our students. And so letting them celebrate when they use their voice, celebrate when they ask for something else, or when they asked maybe to move, or when they ask, if they could work somewhere else to finish what they need to do. Celebrate them. Acknowledge that they are using their voice, that they are using strategies to help control those emotions that they have. It's super exciting to see these little wins, and they are wins, and they deserve to be celebrated. And obviously, I'm not saying like you're going to stop everything and throw a huge party, but again, acknowledging them, a high five, an extra sticker, a stamp, whatever it is you do as a positive reinforcement for your school, for your classroom, throw in a couple more for that student who is now advocating for themselves and letting you know, hey, I need help over here, or whatever it is, because they deserve to be celebrated. So again, some ways that you can help your students have behavior breakthroughs. Being consistent with your classroom expectations. Number 2, holding them to those expectations. Letting them know, like, this work is not going anywhere. You're still going to have to do it eventually. One thing that has worked well with the students that I've worked with, sometimes when they are hesitating or they're avoiding doing any work, is a reminder, if this is not done at this time, then you're going to have to sit and do it during recess. And it's like, wow, they're running to go get their pencil then. For the most part, that works really well. So that expectation is still held. So number 3 is that teaching and reteaching behavior strategies that will help them when they feel that overwhelm of emotion coming in their bodies, and sometimes they just don't know what to do with it. It's a constant teaching and reteaching for them. Number 4, empowering your students, giving them that voice and choice. So again, helping them to be self-aware and to be able to advocate for themselves. Number 5, be that calm in their storm. That is from Andrew Smith, the school counselor, behavior tutor. That is on the podcast monthly. Be the calm in their storm. They need you to be the calm in their storm. And if you are not feeling that calm and you are feeling like you're going to, become a part of that storm, tag somebody else. Call for support. Totally fine. We are all human. And then number 6 is celebrate those behavior breakthroughs. When you realize Johnny did not flip out when it was time for math, go give him that high five, that sticker, that whatever it is you have in your class, or that positive reinforcement. Celebrate when they have those behavior breakthroughs. So here's a quote from Behavior Roots. They're on Instagram. And they said, behind every difficult behavior is an unmet need. So true. It's an overwhelm of emotion because there's a need that hasn't been met. So no, ultimately, your students have a reason they're behaving that way. And if you can help teach them the strategies to become self-aware, to be able to control it as much as possible, to advocate for themselves, you are helping them and growing them into successful little human beings that are going to be running around ruling this world someday. So, before we close, what will you work on to help your students achieve a behavior breakthrough this week? Which one of those are you going to work on to help your students achieve a behavior breakthrough this week? Thanks so much for listening, guys. I will see you next week. Thanks so much for listening. I truly appreciate your support. And if I have encouraged you, motivated you to continue to learn, to support your students, even better, to help them strive in your classroom, please leave a review, hit that subscribe button so that others can see they can learn and grow here as well. Thank you.